Welcome to U.S. Immigration TV. Well, as everyone knows, tourists or visitors are not allowed to work on their tourist or B visa. And if they do, ordinarily, it is considered a violation of status. Now, recently, I've come across a new trend or pattern by Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, at the airports, where tourists are having their tourist visas canceled and they're sent right back to their home country without ever leaving the airport. This is what we call airport to airport. Now, one of the reasons I have this YouTube channel is to keep people posted on immigration news, laws, and developments. And I just thought this new trend would be of interest or informative to my subscribers. And this is especially true because many of you have friends or relatives who may be coming to the U.S. to visit you or to see the sights. Now, of course, this sort of thing has always been happening, meaning people being caught working on visitor visas. But you know, in the past few weeks, I've had at least 5 or 6 people consulting with me about this very same situation. So I think CBP has increased its vigilance. Now, what usually happens is that a person arrives in the U.S. as a visitor, perhaps after flying for 15 hours on their flight. Now, of course, they may be tired, confused, and they just want to get out of the airport where their family and friends are waiting to pick them up. But for some reason, something about their situation seems suspicious to the officer at the immigration booth, and then they're sent to secondary for further screening or questioning. Now, sometimes they have to wait for many hours before they're finally questioned. Ultimately, they may be accused of having worked on a previous visit. Now, the officer may even have them turn over their cell phones, and the officer will read their text messages, or they could be required to log on to their emails where the immigration officer will also scan them for suspicious messages, such as, can't wait for you to get here to work again, or things like that. Now, ultimately, because they're stressed or scared, they end up giving a statement or a confession admitting that they had worked on a previous visit. In that case, their existing tourist visa is canceled, and really they're put on the next available flight back to their home country without ever getting out of the airport. Now, in the meantime, of course, they may have friends or family waiting outside, perhaps with flowers or balloons and signs, eagerly looking forward to that person's arrival. So what happened in these cases? Well, in one case, where the woman went airport to airport, she was questioned and ultimately admitted that on a previous visit, she'd been staying with her sister and she walked the sister's dogs while the sister was at work. So the sister, gave her like $100 a week pocket money. Well, CBP considered this to have engaged in unauthorized employment and therefore a violation of her visitor visa, something like walking a dog. Now, in another case, a woman was questioned at the airport and she admitted that on a previous visit, she had been caring for a person for a few weeks and was being paid $12 an hour. Now, the officer said he even had photos of her doing so, which I don't think is true. I don't think CBP sends people out on the street with cameras. But again, this person was considered to have engaged in unauthorized employment. In yet another case, a woman admitted that she'd been doing housekeeping for a family on a previous visit, which was again, of course, considered unauthorized employment, and the CBP suspected she was coming back to do it again. In most of these cases, the person may have stayed up to the 6 months allotted for their previous visit, and maybe they went home and they were returning to the U.S. after only a few months. Now, naturally, CBP would wonder, how could a person have just taken a 6-month vacation and, a few months later, they're coming back for yet another vacation? What kind of job do they have in their home country, that would allow them to have such extended and repeated vacations? And the consequences of going airport to airport could be severe. In this particular situation, these people undergo what is called expedited removal, where they are immediately removed or deported by CBP at the airport without ever having gone in front of a judge. Now, I said they go airport to airport. They're also prohibited from coming back to the U.S. for 5 years. But even after those 5 years are up, how are they supposed to come back to the U.S.? I mean, I think it's highly unlikely that they'll ever get another tourist visa. This is especially true because on the visa application itself, there are several questions such as, has your U.S. visa ever been canceled or revoked? Have you ever been refused admission to the U.S.? Have you ever violated the terms of a U.S. visa? Now, of course, the answer would be yes to all of these questions, and I just don't think that a consul would be inclined to issue another tourist visa to that person, knowing their past violations on the previous tourist visa. And of course, if they are under petition for an immigrant visa within those 5 years, it could also raise problems. Now, of course, waivers could be available to get around that 5-year bar, but applying for the waiver is complex and time-consuming. So the lesson is that you should, of course, not work on a tourist visa, and it does appear CBP is actively screening and questioning people at airports and are catching many who did so. And as a result, they're having their tourist visas canceled and they're being sent home. Now, if you want to work in the U.S., I would suggest instead to have an employer petition you for a green card. The job does not have to be college level. It can even be a housekeeper, a caregiver, a nanny, things like that. This is through a process called labor certification or PERM, which currently takes about 2.5 or 3 years. But of course, the advantage is you will be entering the U.S. with a green card, enabling you to lawfully work in the U.S. and live here permanently. Now, I have posted several videos on this channel dealing with obtaining a green card through an employer. In fact, family members can petition other family members for an employment-based green card. I posted several videos on this topic as well. And while I'm not guaranteeing results, I have successfully handled several cases where a family member got a green card through an employment-based petition. For example, in one case, an aunt petitioned a niece as a caregiver at the aunt's care home. In another case, a niece petitioned her aunt as a housekeeper. In yet another case, a sister petitioned her brother as her office manager. And this is all perfectly legal and could definitely avoid a situation of being caught having worked on a tourist visa and being sent home. Now, of course, I'm not guaranteeing results again, but this is something for you to think about. Now, I hope you found this video informative and enlightening, and I wanted to alert you to this new trend or pattern that I'm seeing happening at the airports. I also post videos concerning immigration news, laws, and developments, which I hope you find informative. So, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel to be kept updated. I'm Michael Gurfinkel, and thanks for watching U.S. Immigration TV.